The news broke like a thunderclap across global markets. EU slams China with sweeping new tariffs. Brussels declares economic war. In newsrooms from Shanghai to New York, analysts scrambled and governments convened emergency meetings. The long-simmering trade tensions between the European Union and China had finally boiled over. This wasn't just another trade dispute, this was a declaration. December 4, 2025, will be remembered as the day Europe decided to fight back. The announcement came from Brussels, the heart of the European Union, now transformed into a war room for economic strategy. Top officials, faces grim, stood before cameras and spoke of unfair competition and state-sponsored subsidies flooding European markets. The message: the EU would no longer stand by while its industries were hollowed out. The tariffs, they explained, were a necessity to ensure Europe's economic sovereignty. The scope was staggering. Electric vehicles hit hardest, but also solar panels, wind turbines, medical devices and steel. Shockwaves hit boardrooms and factory floors alike. For years, Europe had championed free trade and acted as a mediator in global economics. That era is over. The EU is now a protagonist, wielding its market power as a weapon. The immediate reaction: confusion and anger. Beijing issued a furious condemnation, promising countermeasures. Global shipping stocks tumbled, and port authorities braced for chaos. Fragile supply chains, already battered by pandemic and geopolitics, were thrown into disarray. This was more than an economic policy shift. It was a seismic event, threatening to redraw the map of global trade. Two of the world's largest economic blocs now stand on opposite sides, locked in a battle for the future. The world was watching as the first shots of a new economic conflict rang out. Inside Brussels' Berlaymont building, the mood was grim but resolute. This was not a decision taken lightly. For months, EU leaders pored over data, seeing Chinese state-backed companies undercutting European producers at an unsustainable rate. The goal of these tariffs is strategic: to de-risk, reduce critical dependencies, and reclaim control over vital industries. The policy marks a profound shift in the EU's worldview. Decades of faith in globalization have given way to a new realism about China's state-capitalist model. The EU now sees an existential threat to its industrial base and economic security. The tariffs are the first salvo in a Fortress Europe strategy, designed to shield key sectors from predatory practices. But it's not just tariffs. There's a massive push for domestic investment, like the Green Deal industrial plan. The aim: block unfair imports while boosting Europe's own green and digital tech capacity. Officials insist this is about creating a level playing field. European companies face strict standards. They can't compete with Chinese firms that don't. The tariffs are meant to correct that imbalance. The EU watched the US-China trade war and initially sought neutrality. But as China's power grows and its alignment with Russia deepens, neutrality is no longer an option. The EU is now defining its own path, distinct from Washington's, but with a similar diagnosis of the China challenge. The tariffs are a signal. Europe is no longer passive. It's a geopolitical force, ready to defend its interests with powerful economic tools. The impact of the tariffs is felt most on Europe's factory floors. In Wolfsburg, Germany, Volkswagen workers met the news with anxiety and relief. For years, they watched Chinese EV brands rise and their own market share dwindle. The tariffs feel like a lifeline, a chance to compete and secure jobs. But the picture is complex. European car makers rely on the Chinese market and Chinese components. The fear is that China will retaliate, threatening jobs in Germany. "We are caught in the middle," says one manager. "We need protection at home, but we can't afford to lose China." In the battery sector, companies like Northvolt see the tariffs as a vote of confidence, shielding them from cheaper Chinese alternatives. Thousands of engineers and technicians now have hope for a self-sufficient green tech industry, but protection could raise costs and stifle innovation. Will European buyers pay more for a local EV if a cheaper advanced Chinese model is just outside the tariff wall? On the factory floor, these policy debates become real. The future of European industry and millions of jobs hangs in the balance. EU-China trade disputes aren't new. Past clashes like the solar panel dispute were technical and sector-specific. This time, the context is fundamentally different. The EU isn't just enforcing rules, it's challenging China's entire economic model. The scale is broader, the target's more strategic, and the motivation is geopolitical. The language has shifted. Leaders now speak of economic coercion and strategic dependencies. There's a growing consensus that China is a systemic rival, not just a competitor. The industries targeted, EVs, batteries, high-tech components, are the building blocks of future power. Losing leadership here isn't an option for Europe. Unlike the last decade, the EU is determined to hold its ground in green and digital tech. This is a fight for the future. Europe believes the cost of inaction now outweighs the risk of escalation. At the core of the EU's policy shift is one word: subsidies. Brussels' anti-subsidy investigations triggered the new tariffs. Investigators claim to have uncovered vast state support giving Chinese companies an insurmountable advantage: cash grants, cheap loans, subsidized land, and low energy prices. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed Europe's dependency on China for critical goods. Now the same danger looms in green and digital tech. The EU is building a legal case, compliant with WTO rules, to frame tariffs as a legitimate response to unfair practices. This is a direct challenge to China's economic model. Beijing denies the claims, calling the probes a pretext for protectionism. The clash is about more than prices. It's a fundamental disagreement over the role of the state in the economy. Global trade rules are caught in the crossfire. Elena has worked on the assembly line near Valencia, Spain, for 22 years. Her job once felt secure, but now uncertainty looms. Coffee break talk is about production targets and the rise of Chinese EV brands. You see them on the roads now, she says. They look sleek, they're cheaper. Every time we see one, it feels like a threat. Elena and her colleagues are proud of their work, but worry they can't compete with impossibly low prices. We have good wages, safety standards, unions. How can we compete with factories that don't? The EU tariffs brought cautious optimism, a sense that someone was finally listening. It's not about blocking everyone out, it's about making the race fair. If their cars cost what they should, let the best car win. For Elena, tariffs are a shield, a potential lifeline for her job and community, but she's pragmatic. Retaliation from China could mean layoffs if exports dry up. It's scary. You hope this fixes the problem, but you worry it could make things worse. Workers like Elena are holding their breath. We just want to build good cars and provide for our families. The stakes are high, and their future depends on decisions made far from the factory floor. The hope is that politicians in Brussels and Beijing know what they're doing. For now, Elena and her colleagues wait, uncertain but determined. The factory floor is where global policy becomes personal. Every shift, every car, is a testament to their resilience. The outcome of this trade war will shape their lives for years to come. For Elena, it's more than economics. It's about dignity and survival. The EU's tariff decision is a stone dropped into turbulent global trade waters. The most immediate effect, a scramble to remap supply chains. Companies importing Chinese goods now face soaring costs and are searching for alternatives: reshoring, nearshoring, or friendshoring. This great rewiring of production is complex, expensive, and will take years. The most dangerous: ripple retaliation. China's Ministry of Commerce has promised countermeasures: tariffs on European goods, regulatory hurdles, or restrictions on critical raw materials. French wine, German cars, Italian fashion, all could be targets. This tit-for-tat escalation risks a full-blown trade war, inflicting pain on both sides. The EU's move was a powerful offensive play, but it's also exposed Europe to a range of damaging counterattacks. As the dust settles, experts warn of profound risks. Europe's grievances over Chinese subsidies are real, but tariffs are a risky remedy. History shows tariff wars spiral, harming everyone. European consumers may face higher prices and slower green transitions. Companies reliant on China could see profits squeezed. Chinese manufacturers lose a key market. The challenge: protect industries without crude protectionism or decoupling. Some argue Europe should focus on investment and innovation, not just tariffs. The risk: a fragmented global trading system with economic blocs competing and everyone poorer for it. The world watches as the EU throws down the gauntlet. The ball is in Beijing's court. The coming weeks are critical. Will China retaliate proportionally or escalate? Diplomacy will be working overtime. Neither side wants an all-out trade war. The EU will use tariffs as leverage. China will threaten countermeasures. The question: is compromise possible, or are the sides too far apart? This confrontation will have global implications, especially for the US and developing nations caught in the middle. The future of globalization is at stake. The EU's tariffs mark a shift toward economic security and geopolitical competition. The decisions made now will shape the global economy for decades to come.